kicking off with Championship BBQ.TV, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Yay! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with me this evening, or if you want to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. A couple weeks ago, we tried to pull this off. We had technical difficulties. We believe we have worked through the technical difficulties and can now pull this segment off. Moved up from the second hour the first time. Coming in a debut segment, second time debut segment, Dirk Mullins, Jody Harris from the Rib Cookoff Association. We're going to be talking to them about why cook the Rib Cookoff Association. Not why cook it, but why start it. Also, if you're somebody that's interested, you've heard about it, why cooking it? We'll talk about why you would want to do that. We'll talk about the rules, how you're judged, where the next round of competitions might be taking place, all that good stuff. So leading off with Rib Cookoff Association talk. Then we'll move 35 past the hour because it's the third Tuesday of a month. In that second interview slot during the first hour, we will welcome back our pal, the creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright. Between last month and this month, if you can believe it, a host of new things have happened. So we're going to be talking with Wes about all of those. There's been a huge lawsuit that's been settled finally, as I had mentioned at the top of the show last week. So we'll talk to Wes and see if he's heard anything about that. From a settlement aspect, there's some new products that have launched. There's been some additional business where other companies have been bought by other companies. So plenty to get through here with Wes. Then we'll go to the second hour. And joining me is a former embedded correspondent of the show. He is a barbecue supply store owner and the owner of the historic Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. Owner of Owl's Nest Barbecue, Steve Ray, joins the show once more. Steve ran up to Nashville last week, about a week ago, last Wednesday, and he walked the HPBExpo or the HPBExpo or whatever the hell they call it. I was at the one last year in Louisville. It moved locations as it usually does. And it was in Nashville last week, so we'll talk to Steve about what he liked and what he didn't like. He also sent me a bunch of pictures that we'll go over. So if you're listening to this show now in the second hour on Thursday or whenever you get it, when I say, hey, if you're listening to it audibly, make sure you hit the video archive so you can also see what we're talking about Little advance notice on that. If you're watching live, you'll see it all happen right here in real time. So there is a visual component aside from the audio component. And then closing out the show, somebody who's been on the show before, a product manager for W.C. Bradley for one of their other arms. But tonight he joins us in his new role as product manager at Current Backyard, Seth Sawyer. Current getting a lot of hype over the last number of months. It won awards at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas a couple weeks ago. Wes and I will be talking about Current Backyard. I talked about Current Backyard the last time I was on Jimmy Malone's show here locally in Cleveland. Not barbecue, but Radio Hall of Famer Jimmy Malone. So everybody's talking about it. Why not get some straight detail from the folks that are making it? Current Backyard, Seth Sawyer. So looking forward to catching up with Seth and closing out the show with Seth as well. So that's how it's laying out here this evening. Dirk Mullins from Rib Cookoff Association. Dirk Mullins, Jody Harris. Wes Wright after him. Steve Ray to lead off the second hour. Seth Sawyer to close it out. And your emails and chats as we can mix them in here during the next 2 hours. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat, all at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platform partners. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show, where we are once again streaming live on the Facebook page. Facebook had a little thing with the vMix, but that's all been worked out over the course of the last week. So you will notice that if you are on Facebook, the show page, not my personal page like it was last week, that we are back up and running as normal. You can also watch over Twitter, twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. And you can also take in the show on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we do have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam, you are now 100% down after the interview last week. And currently, 83% of you are saying yes. You are down. 17% of you are saying no, sir. You are not down. You won't have it. Talk about that here in just a second. By the way, new piece of business that I'll be adding top of the show as long as I can remember it. Results from the poll last week, which was if you will watch the UFL now that the NFL season is over. And as the poll ended, 71% of you said you will not be watching the UFL as it starts to air here over the next couple weeks. So no spring football for you folks, or at least the majority. So we have the new YouTube poll question of the week that we'll be asking everybody about as the show progresses. And we will give you the results at the lead of the show next week, as long as I can remember. So let's go ahead and start here this evening, and we can unpack some of the conversation of Smoke Slam from last week. I think it's safe to say you either love this event even more after the conversation with Melzy Wilson last week, or you hate this event even more after the conversation with Melzy Wilson last week. And the vast majority of you who are in some kind of opposition to Smoke Slam are in opposition because of the dates of the event itself. You are more or less good with the money that they're putting out. You're good with the World Food Championships being a part of it in the ancillary categories and offering tickets to those that are winning those ancillary categories and the main meets to go do their event in November. You're even okay with Smoke Slam being in Tom Lee Park, but you really hate the fact that Smoke Slam is competing directly with Memphis in May as it relates to the date. I think Melzy did a great job last week. She brought some new information about the festival that we didn't know about, most notably. There's a 10-year agreement between the organizers of Smoke Slam and the Memphis River Parks Partnership. I thought there might be a 1 or 2 year agreement with some options to extend things if there were a panning out for both sides in a positive way. I didn't see a 10-year agreement at the start, and I have to imagine that there are some ripcords in the agreement that either side can pull if certain things don't happen. But again, an initial agreement of 10 years right off the bat was stunning, and at least cosmetically, it does show that there is real interest in being in downtown Memphis for the foreseeable future. I really need to get a segment or two with a guy named Mike Smith. Some of the questions I asked Melzy Wilson last week, better served to ask Mike. He appears to be the lead guy, especially if there were attempts at a joint venture to help improve Memphis in May going forward, and the Memphis in May folks rebuff the SummerSlam folks, which forced them into the situation we're in now. 2 big events, one a first-year festival, one a legacy contest that is revered in the barbecue world, going head-to-head with each other. I can tell you this, my opinion, you don't go head-to-head with someone unless you're looking to impose your will on the other event. That could be to put them out of business, to take it over, or to amicably merge after this year. Why else would you do it the same weekend? By the way, I don't have a problem with any of this. As one of my true radio heroes, Jim Rome, says, I'm not siding with SmokeSlam. I'm not siding with Memphis in May. I am, and I always will side with team content. That drives the show. That's who I want to win. Team content all day long. Put me on team content. And then let's let everything else fall where it may. It'll all come out in the wash, gang. That's what I tell everybody. So we'll continue to keep you updated. We're going to give this Rib Cookoff Association thing another shot. Why not? Before we do that, let me ask you this. You tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Of course you are. It's time to step your game up and bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits Grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today, using either wood or charcoal. Their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. Their take on the very popular Santa Maria style grill. You can check them out online, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. And as you're checking out with that new charcoal grill that you just put in the cart, let me save you $150 off that thing. Use promo code Charcoal Central. All one word, Charcoal Central, at checkout. And again, you can save $150 off any charcoal grill that they're selling. Just go to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. Use promo code Charcoal Central as you're checking out. And remember, it's the double T on the Pits and the Spits. pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. We're back to talk the Rib Cookoff Association right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com and check out all the stuff they have for sale, and then when you're ready to buy, head on over to Amazon.com or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com. All the same great stuff to pick from and purchase. Great shipping rates as well. Great folks over at CookiePellets.com. A few weeks ago, we made an attempt at doing a segment with the founders of the Rib Cookoff Association. Technical issues had other plans, so tonight we are going to give it another try and see. We're going to be talking about why it was created, what the events look like for 2024. We are racing back to the hotline and welcoming back first-timers to the show, Dirk Mullins and Jody Harris. All right, guys, so we are back at it. Before we get into Rib Cookoff Association stuff, let's ask the YouTube poll question of the week to both of you. And, Dirk, I will start with you. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam before, you are now 100% down with it after the interview last week, yes or no?
Yes, because I'm cooking in it.
Oh, all right. Well, even better. Jody, you down with it, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Right.
I'm down with it.
62%, so we're falling just moments ago. It was 80-20, but it is now 62% saying yes, they are down with it. I don't want to get off track immediately, Dirk, but what pulls you to a Smoke Slam versus a stalwart competition like a Memphis in May?
I just had a friend ask me if I wanted to cook. I'm just cooking with somebody else, not my own team.
Coming in as a ringer.
Yeah.
I don't know about I don't think so.
No?
Probably a dishwasher.
That's all right. That's all right.
No, I support them both. We have a lot of friends that cook Memphis in May and have forever. So
yeah.
All right, so here's the Rib Cookoff Association. By the way, if you want to check it out as we're talking here, ribcookoffassociation.com. Dirk, what's your background in barbecue, even outside of competition, and then how do you get into the competition scene?
I've probably been smoking meat for 40 years. Just a friend and I started when we were younger, working in the oil field, self-taught, as far as that part of it. Then kind of got into doing some catering on the side. And I've always been competitive, whether it was golf or whatever. So I took it to the cooking world. Met Jody before I ever did my first competition. So we've done close to 170 KCBS contests. We've done CBA, IBCA, probably over 100 SCA. We've cooked a lot of contests together. Every one we've done's been together. So,
Jody, what's your background in live fire?
Well, basically, I started 11 years ago, too. I mean, my background is business. And I remember him coming home one day and saying, hey, we're going to go cook this competition. And I was like, what? What are we going to do? But you know what? I fell in love with it. I cook with him on 3 Hog Night Smokers. I also have my own team called She Barbecues, where I cook steaks as well. Been doing that for about 5 years. And I love it. It's a big family out there, and I enjoy the competition, but I enjoy the big family too.
So we've seen the introduction to single meat category through Kansas City Barbecue Society. That does seem to have gained some popularity now. Whether that should be counting as an increase in competitions is hotly up for debate, depending on who you're asking. But nevertheless, the one meat seemed to be doing pretty well. At what stage, Dirk, did you think that a Rib Cookoff Association is a good idea to you, and then when do you decide to let the rubber meet the road?
I came up with this idea about a year ago, and don't even ask me why. I just thought there was a place for it. I thought it'd be fun. Just I don't know, a month or two ago, I just got a hair. I think I told you the story. We were in a hotel room going to Kansas City to do an SCA contest. And I just looked at Jody and I said, let's do it. She wrote up a little deal, put it on Facebook, and I basically had to turn my phone off that night. It went crazy. It was wilder than I thought. And it's been like that ever since. So,
Jody, when he pitches the idea to you, do you think it's a little bit crazy, or are you jumping in with both feet?
You know what? I'm jumping in with both feet because one of the things that I've seen cooking KCBS, sorry, our little 3-pound Yorkie's letting the neighbor know that they know she's home. But anyway, one of the things that I've seen cooking competitively is a lot of people can't afford to cook. KCBS and all these other great organizations, they can't cook the 3 meats or the 4 meats. So when he came up with the 1 meat idea, I said, I'm all for it. For one reason, it's going to be affordable. For two, it's going to be affordable for the promoters to promote this. So, he came up with the idea, gave me enough nuggets where I wrote a business plan, had it out in a day. We made some posts and it's been like lightning. I mean, Greg, we have almost 780 members in less than probably 4 to 5 weeks.
Give us a look at what a Rib Cookoff Association contest or event is going to look like from the minute I show up at the event till when I'm leaving.
Well, we're not going to have any meat inspection. That's up to the promoter. So basically, when you get on site, you can do whatever you want to do. You have the choice. The promoter has a choice of spare ribs or baby backs, or pick one or the other. We've had some interest in beef ribs too, but that's, a little expensive side there. But if a person has a sponsor, great for that. But you bring your own ribs, show up, do whatever you want to with them. Promoter is going to set the window, normally a 5-hour window, roughly. That's give or take. That's kind of on them. And you'll cook your ribs, turn them in. They'll be judged. No criteria. The judges will pick the meat up and eat it. There's no stay on the bone, fall off the bone. If it's a good rib, they'll score it a good rib. And if it's not, they won't score it a good rib. We try to keep it as simple as possible. So judges off the street. So
can I ask about no meat inspection? Why no meat inspection? I saw Jody doing a little cheer, getting away from that. I don't know why that is, good or bad or otherwise, because I'm just ignorant to that. And then a quick follow-up to that would be, could you run into some inconsistency then where in Stillwater, Oklahoma, there's a promoter that requires meat inspection at his event, but if you go to Chandler, Oklahoma, the promoter does not require meat inspection over there?
First off, I'll address the meat inspection. Meat inspection in barbecue is a joke because you can have your stuff in one ice chest and show them another. So it's, and if you've been in the barbecue world as long as we have, there's no advantage to doing anything to your meat before you get there other than trimming. And you are allowed to do that. But there's really no advantage to doing that. It'd actually work against you. But if a promoter wants to do it, that's fine. There's probably some that will. And it's not like it takes 5 minutes for them to come around and do it. So it's not an issue for us. I just don't want to require it.
Okay.
So
I think we'll have a very small percentage of people, promoters that actually want to do a meat inspection. But again, we're leaving a lot of that up to the promoter.
From a judging standpoint, you said it's going to be people off the street. They're going to pick up a rib, taste the rib, score the rib. Is there any scoring criteria? What is it? Just like pick it up and 1, it's trash, and 10, it's the best, and there's no half points or quarter points or anything like that?
Yes. So, and I want to also add on a couple of things that Dirk left out was we do have a cooks meeting. That's typically about 9:00. We do have a judges meeting. And in that judges meeting, we're telling them that they're not judging to any type of criterion, that they're going to be able to pick up the rib and they're going to be able to bite it. From that, they're going to judge on appearance of the rib once they bring it out of the box. The second thing they're going to judge on is the taste. How does it taste? How does it taste to you? Not to the group of judges at the table. How does it taste to you? That's going to be weighted from up to 9.5. The appearance is only going to go to a 9. The taste is going to go to a 9.5. And then the tenderness is going to go to a 9.8.
We're being serious here. We're really being serious, lest you think otherwise.
Yes, we are. And it's going to go up to a 9.8. So once you weight that out over 5 judges, you're going to get a score. And our first contest, I think it was 9 points.
9 points from the 35th team to first.
Yeah.
So
it's really close.
3 points from the 10th to first. So very consistent. It came out real good. So we were pleased.
What can be the biggest pitfalls as you get going here? From a scoring standpoint or operational standpoint, anything like that? Or is it going to be pretty easy?
Hopefully it's going to be pretty easy because that's how we designed it. I mean, of course, you're going to have some ties in scoring. Those will be broke, computer coin flip or however we do it. We also, there's a championship at the end of the year too that we can talk about in a little bit. But so far, I mean, the first one in Conway, Arkansas really went off without a hitch, to be honest with you. We were pleasantly surprised, and it rained all day too. So it really went good. The judging went good.
The feedback, Greg, was amazing. They really liked the laid back atmosphere. They liked the 30-minute window to turn in the ribs. So if anything, I don't see pitfalls. I see opportunities for us to simplify some things, but not really pitfalls.
How many racks of ribs are people allowed to bring, or is there no limit? You can cook 50 racks and turn in however many required bones for judges or whatever, right?
Yep, whatever you want to do.
And you supply turn-in boxes, or is it paper plates or what?
Yeah, turn-in boxes.
Garnish?
No garnish.
All right.
No garnish. That's something else Jody likes.
Yeah.
I think nobody's going to miss the garnish, but yeah, no garnish.
What are we looking at entry fee-wise?
We're trying to keep them between 100 and 125. We really don't want them to go over that. We have some suggested prize money on our website that's not set in stone. But if they'll keep the entry fees around that, we have already found from some of we had one contest try to go a little bit higher and got some bad feedback on it. They changed it and gained some more teams that day. So
what am I looking at from a walk away if I win it? If I give you $100, $125, what could I walk away with?
Conway was $1,000 for first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, went 500, 400, 300, 6th through 10th.
So.
Basically got their money back, 100. So it was good.
And then Greg, the champion, is invited to cook at our national championship here in Oklahoma on New Year's Day. And then another thing that we're doing, everyone who entered that contest and cooked, their name's going to go on a chip. For each contest, we're going to put everybody's name in a bag. Once it gets about October, we're going to draw out a certain percentage based on how many cooks we've had. Contests, not cooks, how many contests we've had. And then those individuals will be invited to the championship as well.
A little bit of a jack draw for the Rib Cookoff Association.
Sort of, yeah. And every winner, I don't know if Jody said it, but every winner gets an auto in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it could even be the top 10 in points by the time we get there. So
How many events we looking to get under the belt here in 2024?
Man, I hope we got a bunch. Right now we have, 5 or 6 scheduled. Mm-hmm. Still coming in. Still getting great feedback every day, sending out promoter packets. I think promoters, some of the promoters are just like cooks. They're not going to schedule their stuff. If they're doing it in August, they're not going to call us now and get it on the calendar. We hope they do, because I'd like to get the ones that are on the calendar. We'll definitely make sure to not have a comp anywhere close to them on the same date. So they won't hurt each other. So, but,
and Greg, I think if we have, I've set some goals, and I think if we have between 30 to 40 cooks for 2024, it's been a successful year. I think we're going to exceed that, but that's kind of the goal I've set.
Where would you like to see it in 24 months? Are we looking at like 300 events over the course of a year, or not that many? More than that?
I don't know. That'd be awesome. if we did. It'd be a workhorse, but it'd be awesome. But we've had a lot of people call and want to be reps. And
a lot of sponsors, a lot of people who want to be sponsors of the organization. You know, I think in any business that you look at, you're going to take it 3 times. If you hit 2, you're doing well for the next year. But if you hit 3 times, then you know that you've got something there. So I think whatever we do this year, if we can do 3 times next year, it'll be a success. And again, like I tell everybody, have fun. You know, $100, you and your buddy, if you want, you can bring out a drum and cook some ribs, win some money, have an opportunity to come cook at the championship. You're definitely going to have a good time.
One of the most successful parts of SCA a handful of years ago was anything went. Any cooker, and I saw it back in 2018 when I was down in Fort Worth for a MBBQA event. They had the 2-time steak cook-off thing there. And it was crazy because you saw expensive cookers, you saw a bunch of Weber kettles, and everything in between. And people were just cooking steak the best way they knew how and turning it in. But very rapidly, it became, you have to do this in order to be in contention to win an SCA event. It's got to look like this. All of a sudden, steak didn't look like steak. It looked like a hockey puck. You had to have the sear marks on. Judges said they would score down if there weren't sear marks on the steak. It was very rapidly squeezed into a box. How do you stay away from that?
I think having non-certified judges takes care of a lot of that. Just like KCBS, and I'm not knocking any judges because I'm a certified judge too. But I feel like a lot of times they judge to the criteria instead of just eating that and saying, man, that was a good rib or that was a good bite of brisket. It's like, well, that wouldn't really bite through, or the chicken wouldn't bite through, or and then talking about, back to the fire source, we also you can cook on any fire source. It doesn't matter you can cook on anything you want. So.
And Greg, I think it's very important when we're in there with those judges, we tell them, you're not judging based on any criteria. It's what you think. You can talk amongst yourself after you finish judging, but it's what you think is what you're going to write down on the paper. Did you like the taste? Did you like the tenderness? Did you like the appearance? It's pretty simple. So I think as long as we continue to stress that and not give any guidelines, because I received an email right after the first contest in Conway, and they said, what information did you give to the judges? And I told them. I said, we told them not to judge to any criteria. We told them to look at these 3 items. That's exactly what we told them. So I think that that's bringing back where people aren't saying, okay, my brisket has to look a certain way. My steak has to look a certain way. You have to cook it to this certain way. No, go out and cook some ribs. And I hope somebody does it on cinder blocks, which is great. I want to see that at a contest.
When's the next one?
The next one is the 12th. The 15th in Ardmore. It's a Friday night comp because they have an outlaw barbecue contest that Saturday. And then the weekend of the SCA Worlds, well, that's the same weekend. And then we have one in Taylor, Texas, the 23rd of March. And then April 6th, Olive Branch, Mississippi would be the next one. And Perry, Oklahoma, April 27th. And then 5/25, May 25th is Jones, Oklahoma. So,
all right. So
we're gaining on it.
A healthy run coming up here. We're looking forward to tracking the progress here and wish you guys nothing but success. RibCookOffAssociation.com is the website. We're talking with the founders, Dirk Mullins and Jody Harris. Guys, appreciate the time here this evening, and we wish you good luck, and we'll track your progress. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
You got it.
Appreciate you.
Dirk and Jody right there. So if you are fans of cooking ribs and ribs only, and you're bigger fans of spending $100 or $125 in an entry fee, which is crazy, that's outside of the ribs. That's your entry fee. But on the cheap, you're in sub $200 before travel, and if you're local, that's not even that much. So, like they're talking about, you can see where this could quickly gain a lot of steam, a lot of momentum, really become popular. And, you know, as I mentioned, the SCA was super popular for many years. Not saying that it's not as popular, but it certainly has become to a point where you have to cook the steak a certain way to give your shot the best chance at winning. I think they released a one meat or things separate than steak, a ribs, a taco, something like that, just to branch out a little bit more a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check on that. Hey, Wes Wright is ready to go. Before we get to him, we'll talk about Primo grills. What do we love about ceramic cookers in general? When it's cold out, they can be fuel efficient. When it's warm out, they can be fuel efficient. It doesn't matter. Once those ceramics heat up, you can cook for hours and hours and hours. In the summer, days on end, because those ceramics heat up and they become very fuel efficient. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of the round ceramic cooker? The ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire is not very realistic in a round ceramic cooker because it is round. Enter Primo Grill in the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well, plus all the accessories, rotisserie accessory, pizza accessory. They got rotisserie baskets, plenty of stuff to satisfy your accessory itch. Only sold through dealers, so go to primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. Find the dealer near you, visit them, touch and feel and fall in love with the oval that best fits your needs, and then take it home. Away you go. primogrill.com, longtime sponsor of this show, and certainly appreciate Nick Bauer and the gang over there. They were at HPBA last week as well. We'll talk to Steve Ray about some Primo stuff. Maybe he made it over the Empire Comfort booth. All right, we're back with Wes Wright. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rampey. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we thank Jody and Dirk from Rib Cookoff Association.com for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, Fireboard 2 Pro. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. Don't forget about the new beacon and the Spark as well. Fireboard.com, the website. Call with questions, 816-945-2232. My next guest tonight is the creator of CookoutNews.com. Third Tuesday of the month, regular guest, Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame nominee, Wes Wright. All right, Wes, we have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and I'm asking everybody this and everybody on YouTube. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam, you are now 100% down after the interview with Melzy Wilson last week, yes or no?
I still like the brand of the other one. I'm going to go no.
No? Right. So we talked quite a bit about Weber last month, but what I didn't learn until a week or so later, maybe it was the following week after we did our normal hit with Christy Vanover of Girls Can Grill, Weber wasn't actually exhibiting at CES like some other companies were. They had a display at a hotel next to CES, but wasn't officially a part of it. Punk move or genius move?
I think it's a punk move, but I respect the con, you know. I think it's kind of hilarious. But and to the way they did it, because I heard that the interview you did with Christy, and like they had a whole bunch of tech journalists there, and no one said anything because
Right.
that's where I got my information. I wasn't invited to the event, so that's where I got my information. They all claimed it was at CES. So I think
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that happens often with those events, but it's kind of funny.
So I think as you look through the totality of trade show events, this happens all the time across the industry. You have punks that don't want to pay the money to fully display, no matter how big or small that square is going to be that they're going to occupy. They don't want to put in the money, but they have shit to sell or hawk or pimp or hype or whatever. I thought it was over the top that Weber did this, and as you said, none of the reporters, and I mean, these aren't like, Wes and Greg's doucheelectronic.com blog. This is Engadget and CNET, like big name tech outlets that are showing up, and none of them are going, and just across the parking lot from CES, there's the Weber display. I mean, they're just, as you said, passing it off like this is just part and parcel of CES. So I think I'm like you. Earlier in the week, I was like 50% of me loves this whole thing. 50% of me hates this whole thing because everybody else that spent money to support CES has been going, this is bullshit. They're getting traction. They're taking away potentially our limelight, and they're not even a part of this. So do you think they'll feel repercussion at all, or they're just happy with people respecting the con, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, it would take a hotel to stand up and say, we're not going to do that for you, but I don't think that'll happen. But like you said, they're all tech reporters that reported it. Like if I went there, I've never been to CES, so you could convince me you're part of CES. I wouldn't know any better, but they know it's not CES. So for the fact that none of them said anything is crazy. But yeah, I mean, is there an incentive not to do that? I don't see one. Weber's been at a couple of weird places too. They're not at traditional, like, they weren't like at HPBA when I looked at the attendee list, at least, or the exhibitor list, but they're at like the Chicago Auto Show, and they're at a couple other shows that were like had nothing to do with outdoor cooking at all. They were just like general market shows. So, they're doing something else, I guess, with their advertising money.
A year ago, I was introduced, because I was at HPBExpo in Louisville, to Halo. Thought they had a really cool burner design for their griddle cooker. They had the battery-operated pellet cooker that was a travel cooker. And they've recently been acquired by a company called Worthington. Who's Worthington?
Yeah, Worthington owns a bunch of outdoor brands. I had never heard of them, so I had to look into them. But they own like Coleman, those single-use propane tanks. They own that business, which I didn't realize wasn't part of Coleman.
Yep.
And they own like, I forget, like the Dirt Devil or whatever that, or maybe it's a weed eater, whatever, that thing that you use to pull weeds in the backyard. Just they have like a collection of 20 or more of those brands. Yeah, and they just added Halo.
Any idea what kind of money exchanges hands for this?
I was surprised because they said a revenue number. I can't remember what it was, but it was sub $10 million. I put it in my article. So it couldn't have cost a lot of money to buy them. I mean, a multiple for a company, I don't know, I'll throw it out 7 to 10 or something like that times your earnings. So if you're making under 10 million in revenue, your bottom line's even less. So they couldn't have made too much.
This will help Halo in the long run, do you think, or does it have the potential being lost in a portfolio of many other products?
I'm hoping it helps them. I mean, it's a publicly traded company. They've got money, so hopefully they can put it behind R&D. I had been following Halo because I really liked what they were doing. They were doing different stuff with all their girls that came out. All had really innovative features that everyone else wasn't doing. They were founded though by a ex-VP of Blackstone, and he was in like product design. And he, from what I could read, he passed away a couple of years ago, kind of unexpectedly, or that's the way I interpreted it. So I didn't know if that was going to hurt their growth trajectory, because that's kind of a key thing and a key part of it. So seeing this, hopefully that helps them if they were still feeling from that, and it helps them put money into R&D and just keep doing what they're doing on a larger scale.
It looked like only one of the top executives remained in the transition, and he's going to be product development officer. Were you surprised nobody else made the switch back over?
There may be other people. That was the only one that they may have only announced him because he was a co-founder, but they may have kept the other executives too. I don't know. They didn't really say exclusively. It was again though. I think that I want to say it was like 20 to 30 people. I forget my number from the article, but it's a pretty small company. Usually in that you would, because they don't. Worthington didn't look like they sold any grills, so they'll need most of those people, with the exception of maybe a back office person or two. I would, from my experience at M&A.
We have two items here on Traeger that we're going to be talking about. The first one happened in between our last conversation, which was the launch of the Traeger Sear Grate. Now, through the various weeks, I've been able to confirm that not only was this built by the company Grill Grates, but it was actually a partnership to some degree through Grill Grates, so they are the manufacturer. Why do you think Traeger doesn't announce that publicly?
Yeah, they apparently just wanted it white labeled. They didn't want to put their brand on it. So maybe so it could seem like they're the ones innovating. That's the only thing I could think of from like a marketing perspective. Like, Traeger came up with this good idea, which if you look at their Instagram, a lot of Traeger fans interpreted it that way. Like, this is amazing that Traeger came up with this idea. So that's the only thing I can think of is that they want to be, act like they're responsible for a product that's already been out there.
It's funny because I did ask a few folks that are related to Traeger in some way, and when they questioned me about it or said, why did you make that post? It was, you were just trying to, create an echo chamber for haters and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, well, I mean, it just looked so much like a grill grate. I just wanted to point out the obvious. And all of them were like, hey, of course it is, grill grate. Now it was, we're not trying to pass anything off, but at the same time, they weren't going out of their way to say that we've partnered with this great company, Grill Grates, in order to help put sear marks on your pellet grills. In the end, good idea or bad idea for a sear grate, or is this just another way to generate some accessory revenue?
I think a sear grates, they work really well on pellet grills, just like cast iron works really well on pellet grills. So I think it helps them, and it helps with a common complaint with their product. I'm sure they have the reasons why they didn't release that it was grill grate. In my perspective, it almost gives it more credibility if you just say like, hey, we partnered with Grill Grate and we designed one specifically for our grill, and you can spin it however you want, because then you don't have people that are like, well, is this Grill Grates? Is this going to, you have some confused consumers, I think, that are like, is Grill Grate still around? Like all these questions that you wouldn't have to deal with, like people upset that they think you're stealing a product if by just saying it. And I don't think it removes anything from it. So, I'm sure they have their reasons, but in my opinion, I kind of would have done it a little different.
I'd mentioned at the top of the show last week that the longest running lawsuit in live fire history, that between Traeger and Green Mountain Grill, settled amicably for both sides. I didn't really get any other information outside of that. Do you know anything about details?
I don't know any details of it. I'm glad that it's kind of over with, because it seemed like it was, definitely with Green Mountain Grills, because they're, a smaller company. It was just kind of a waste of time for everybody, for Traeger and Green Mountain Grills. So hopefully that frees up some financial and people resources for both companies, and, they can use that time better than going back and forth.
You had mentioned in the weekend refuel, which, by the way, if you're not signed up for it, you should go over to cookoutnews.com and sign up for it and read what's happening or what has happened over the last week at cookoutnews.com. You had mentioned that Ripped Grill was going to be ready to ship in 2025. That's that wood chip burning pellet grill, wood chip burning grill from Green Mountain Grills. Is that something you have confirmation on? Because I've heard a few different times that it's still maybe more of a concept than it is going to be a real thing.
Yeah, I saw that on Meathead's Instagram for Amazing Ribs. They had a picture of it from HPBA, and within their caption they said that they told them it was going to ship in 2025, I want to say. And then I also talked to, I think he might even be on your show tonight, Steve Ray from Owl's Nest. He was there too, and I talked to him actually last week, and I want to say he kind of confirmed that as well. So you could ask him. I wasn't at HPBA, but I mean, they had the grill there. It seems like if it was there and they weren't going to come out with it, I don't know why you would do it otherwise.
You going to go to the National Hardware Show?
I don't think so. I just don't have the time to go do it this year. I had a great time and I would love to go. It's a timing thing.
One of the other things you wrote about was the Tiki brand fire pit. Specifically, you mentioned, I'm paraphrasing, that it creates an environment to have the owner make more fires than you might otherwise. How do they do that?
Yeah, they have a thing that I really like where they have these little bags of pellets, right? They say it's a 30-minute fire where it looks like a paper bag. It has some sort of like lighter fluid or something on it, but you just throw it on top of the fire and there's a metal cone that it sits on. Light the four corners, boom, you got a fire in just a few minutes and it'll be out in 30. So for me, it's like a fire you can plan on as opposed to, you mess around, get it lit. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take. I got to go in, I got to get to bed, things like that. Just the fact that it's so easy and predictable for me, I found myself beyond just reviewing it, I'm outside doing something, let's just throw a bag on it and get going. And then I'm done. It's over and you can go inside. So for me, it made me use it a lot more just because I had that set time frame in my head of 30 minutes and this is done,
Can you add wood splits on top of it, or is it just the pellet fired?
Yeah, absolutely. It gets, just a good fire going and you can add more pellets or wood splits, whatever you want. If you get to the end of the time and you're like, I'm not ready to go in, but you have that option though.
Is it a good heat output?
Yeah, it's like any of the fire pits where a lot of the heat goes up, but you do get some radiant heat, and they have their own heat deflector, which works decently well too. It's a cool design though. It rather than like a pan sitting on top like Solo Stove, it's like an angled donut inside, and it pushes the heat outward, so you can still, like, it doesn't obstruct your fire, and it looks a lot better. Their accessories in general for that were everything was designed really well. You would just see little features that you're like, okay, someone actually designed this, tried it out, refined the concept. And it was, it's probably one of my favorite fire pits I've tested just because of that. I was an automotive engineer a long time ago, and so I like when things just work the way you want rather than you're sitting there like, man, I wish they would have done this. Or like even the griddle that it comes with, it sits right on the fire pit, and also the bottom of it's grooved, so it kind of locks in place, and there's a grill in the center. You can add more wood if you want. It's easy. I really had a good time with it.
Let's end with Napoleon, because we rarely talk about Napoleon. I think the last time we talked about them, they were supposed to be releasing a full-size electric grill to market, which I think is still waiting to be released into market. They're changing their sales tactics a bit and going to an omni-channel approach. And this is something I actually might be down with. So tell us what a omni-channel approach actually is.
Yeah, omni-channel is just a fancy word, if you ever see me write it, that they use in the industry. All it means is you can buy it online. You don't have to just buy it in the store. You can buy it in multiple ways. So, Napoleon, they announced you can go online, order. It didn't look like all of them, but order a grill, and then they work with your local dealer to ship it to your house, as opposed to the old model where you had to go in person and order it and get it that way.
So in the past, we've talked about companies that are looking to both build a robust dealer network for you to go into a store and touch and feel their stuff in person, maybe buy it, but also build a robust direct-to-consumer online. And there wasn't this ability to connect those two. This almost seems like this would be the most ideal situation for any company that's looking to do those. Here you can build a robust personal relationship with dealer networks and grow that end of it. And then if somebody wants to buy it online, you're still pushing through the dealer to help them move pieces off the floor. Otherwise, it seems like this is what everybody should be shooting for.
Yeah, if you built a dealer network and they're helping you sell, it's a way that you can reward them as opposed to just selling direct to consumer, and going around that. So, it's a good approach for a company like Napoleon, who that's their foundation, is selling through dealers.
Did you see the new Royal King IQ?
I did. It has a ton of knobs on it. That's one thing I don't like. But yeah, I did see it.
What do you think about it?
I think it's fine. It seemed a tad pricey. I want to, what was it, like $2,000 or something like that. I don't know. I think I would probably, like, if I'm using a gas grill, usually I'm not so worried about keeping, the temp and dialing it in. If I did, I would just get like a Charbroil Cruise for like $450 or something like that. But I get what they're doing, and it's neat. It's just, I don't know. I don't spend that much money on gas grills, I guess.
So I've continued to want to love Royal King. I think this is the brand that everybody should be aware of. I think hardly anybody's actually aware of it. I think they build really great products. They probably overbuild a lot of their products, but in a good way. They have a lot of North American manufacturing. They try and reduce the Chinese componentry as much as possible. It's not 100% eliminated, but they try and eliminate it where they can and make it either U.S. or North American-based stuff. So there's a lot of things about Royal King, even a year ago, that I found out that I really liked. But to me, it's the brand that continues to be the brand that nobody knows about. And if something was done right, I think they would be more popular than Weber. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And to your point, I don't think they know how to market at all. Here's a fun activity for your listeners. If you go check out the new IQs, right? And you have the pictures of the grill, which aren't any lifestyle pictures. Then you go down and they have little pictures of the features that are supposed to be like for that grill, but they're not from that grill. The controller's off a pellet grill in the picture. Their infrared burner is off a different grill. All the pictures below aren't from the actual grill. And it's like, to me, like, it's such a stupid thing, and maybe it's nitpicky, but it like cheapens your brand that you didn't build the thing, go out and take some pictures of it, and like I can see what's actually on it, But so I think that's just kind of indicative of the bigger problem, that they don't, just invest in their marketing and get that out there. Even, their website to me looks kind of old fashioned, and, it doesn't scream like this is a high end brand that, you should be buying from. So, I think that's where they go wrong. And I do think they have a lot of upside, to your point. They could be huge with where they're built. And I love that they're built, in North America. But yeah, I don't know. Do they not want to grow? I don't know what their story is.
Is there a big story that you're working on that we can get scooped?
Nothing too big. There's a cool grill I came across out of Australia. It's an electric grill that they use 2 infrared burners inside the cook chamber rather than like a cal rod heating element. So I'm going to write something about that. It's not tremendously exciting, but it's kind of a cool design. I'm curious if that could be developed.
We're talking with Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. As I had mentioned, make sure you go over there and sign up for the weekend refuel and visit the website multiple times each week. Wes, always appreciate the time and the insight, and we'll look for you again in March.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. Wes Wright, right there. Bringing it strong as always. Lots of great information. I am personally offended as an American consumer, a North American consumer, that Royal King refuses to be better than they are. And I wanted to help them, and they rebuffed me. I'm not mad about that, but this is a brand that should easily be number one in the minds and hearts of consumers. And they refuse to do it. Bizarre. All right, let's go ahead and wrap the first hour. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, let's try and beat the clock here. We thank Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. Be sure you go to cookoutnews.com for all the latest and greatest info. We are pointing to the second hour where we will have visits from Steve Ray and Seth Sawyer from Current Backyard. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Austin Parsons, Pitmaster with Smoky Mountain Q in Nashville, Tennessee, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour, Barbecue Central show, where we talk about only the most high-level barbecue and grilling-related items that are happening in the industry. We just got done doing that with our pal Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. So if you're tuning in, wondering what happened in the first hour, you can rest easy. We're not going to do a whole reset here right now, but you can get the podcast, audio or video. Video automatically archives as soon as the show ends at 11 p.m. Eastern tonight, every Tuesday. The first hour of the show on Audible Podcast will be available very, very early tomorrow morning, Wednesday. Second hour available on Thursdays. And we'll talk about Friday here in just a second. The show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
2 things to update you on. I'm still recovering from my first cold in 10 years, 11 years. So if you hear a little more nasally than normal, if you hear a little bit more bassy deepness, that's from the cold. Update number 2, I still haven't called the colonoscopy office to ask why the hell I don't have my high register. That's my fault. I know I said it last week, but I'm really going to try to remember to call into the office and go, why can't I get to the high notes anymore? Because I used to be able to get there with frequency and regularity, and now I can't even talk a little bit higher than where I'm at right now. This is my new normal, and that's not going to be good enough. I got at least another 15 years on this earth. I need to have my full range in order to be the best version of myself and the most entertaining for people, both you, the audience, and just people that are around me casually in real life. I don't want to be cheating you because I'm trying to be safe. I'm not saying this should show you not to be safe. Not at all. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened to my high register. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show, which I know is on this evening, which is great. We were off last week, but that's all been worked out. Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show also has a live feed, and YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show also has a live feed. We do have a new YouTube poll question of the week. And we're asking everybody this. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam, you are now 100% down after the interview last week. And for the first hour, especially in that first 30-minute stretch, we were at 80-20 yeses. We are now almost as close as it gets. 55% of you are now saying yes, and 45% of you are now saying no. Right around that typical vote total. So there's probably not going to be a whole lot more votes here over the next 45 minutes or so, but we will continue to track it and give you results beginning of the show next week. But it is pulling very close to 50-50, much closer than I thought before. So that means there's a lot of folks out there who think that SmokeSlam is not a good thing and that it's not helping, it's only hurting by being on those same dates. And we talked about that top of the first hour anyways, and if you missed that, you can get it on podcast or video replay at your convenience. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 322, if you can believe it, taking you back to February 28th of 2012, 12 years ago, very shortly, featuring the master planker himself, Ted Reeder. Hey-o! See, I used to be able to go, hey-o, but I can't do it. Anyway, I call Ted Reeder the master planker because, true to the name, he is a master at cooking on wood planks. In fact, I'm not sure there is anything that Ted hasn't tried cooking on wood plank during his time in the live fire industry. Remember, Ted is a classically trained chef. He has held many corporate positions during his time in profession, including executive chef at the Sky Dome in Toronto when it first opened, and then for many years after that. He has done a lot of product development for many of the biggest name brands, not only in Canada, but in North America in general. He has taught classes at the collegiate level, or as they say in Canada, at university. So very accomplished on that side of things, but also as accomplished, maybe more so now, on the live fire side of things. Things that come to my mind as we talk about what has Ted planked. As I look back on past interviews, I think about things like mashed potatoes and gravy, chili, Twinkies injected with Jack Daniels because that's Ted's favorite drink, or was at least. He's done cookies. He's done breads. He has smoked gum on planks, gum that you put in your mouth and chew. He's done that on a plank. So if you're looking for some plank inspiration, if you're just new into the live fire industry, you've seen wood planks, thought about giving it a go this weekend, but you're a little unsure, Ted Reeder is your most well-known, most trained, again, the master planker of all planks. This is the guy you want to go to. This is the guy you want to seek out for guidance when it comes to planking. Short of him, always Mike Lang from Another Pint Please. He's a big planker as well. But Ted is the person. So this is a great way to get some inspiration by listening to the segment. And you have a great introduction to Ted Reeder if you've never heard about him before, if you're just new to this whole thing. Ted brings a lot of passion to cooking live fire each and every day on one of his, I think, 100-plus cookers that he's got in the backyard. Maybe it's even more than that. You can subscribe to The Best Moment Show by visiting thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or segment again that you feel has been lost in the archives, you can email John and let him know what you would like to hear. And John's email is jon@thebbqcentralshow.com. Again, jon@thebbqcentralshow.com. Another quick update. I gave you one last week, and we're doing it until I can't do it anymore. The Raw Chicken Guy on Instagram, still alive, still pumping out raw chicken eating content. Today is day 33, and he has consumed raw chicken breast being disguised as a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So he's obviously in some type of mall today. I don't know if he technically shot it today. I assume he would. You got to keep that kind of thing in real time. But he's in a food court in a mall. He's got the Chick-fil-A paper wrap. He's got a Chick-fil-A drink, or at least a Chick-fil-A cup with a drink in it. And then he has a piece of raw chicken breast with a number of pickles. Of course, we know it can't come from Chick-fil-A specifically because Chick-fil-A gives you only 2 pickles. This one had at least 4 or 5, so you know there's no way in hell that actually came from a real Chick-fil-A, because they would never deviate from what the rule and the prime directive is. And there he was, eating it, and eating it, and eating it, and swallowing it. So Day 33 finds Raw Chicken Experiment on Instagram. Well over 400,000 followers, which I still am baffled by. And not having a tummy ache. And they're a third of the way through. He's taking it through 100 days to see if he gets a tummy ache within those 100 days. Again, dangerous. Don't do it. Just because he's doing it doesn't mean that you should try it in order to get 100,000 more followers on your social media. Carlos from Texas is writing in, "Hey, Greg, love the show. Was trying to remember the name of the band you mentioned as the officially unofficial band for the show. I noticed you changed some bumper music and you mentioned who they were. I've heard your conversations with, quote, Urquiza. That's all I can remember. Regards, Carlos." Carlos, thank you for writing in. And, of course, the band, the officially unofficial, the unofficially official? Let's call the officially unofficial band of the Barbecue Central show 3 Years Hollow. Oh, yes. Come on. 3 Years Hollow. Find them on Spotify. Find them wherever you stream music. They are a signed band now. I'm not saying that the show had anything to do with it, but can't hurt. This song playing right now, 3 Years Hollow. It's a whole song. It's not just this 2-minute loop of 30 seconds of the song that I wedged out. It's a whole song. I would sing it for you, but I got the voice. Grab 'em in the Brisket, a Texas podcast, has made it in here this evening. By the way, what is it, John? 2023 barbecue podcast, NBBQA's 2023, I'm guessing, maybe it's 2024, best barbecue podcast. Grab them in the Brisket. So check them out if you haven't done that. They're number 1, baby. Carlos, thank you for writing in. Check out 3 Years Hollow. Steve Ray is ready to jump in. Before we get to Steve, we'll talk to you about Franklin Barbecue Pits. What you have here with the Franklin Barbecue Pit is a deeply thought out and refined version of the old propane-style cooker that Aaron uses for his Franklin Barbecue restaurant in Austin. Stylistically, it reflects the kind of bare-bones, industrial, handmade aesthetic that he loves, as in the patina and the way the build allows you to see the welds and the craftsmanship. Primarily built with 1/4-inch thick American-made steel, it's strong. It's built to last for 100 years or more, as long as you care for it properly. So go to FranklinBBQPits.com. You can buy one, or you can find a certified dealer near you. Did I mention this? Maybe you own a barbecue supply store, or you're thinking about opening one up. And aside from rubs and sauces and accessories and other nonsense, you want to carry the most elite line of cookers you can get your hands on. What's more elite than a Franklin Barbecue Pit? Nothing. Few are. Sure, you have Pits and Spits, no doubt elite, but Franklin right up there as well. Offset cooker, not 50 different products to choose from. It's this one. They have some sauces, some rubs, some other accessory revenue streams for you to bring in. But if you're thinking about bringing in the best in your store, do yourself a favor. Go to FranklinBBQPits.com, hit the contact button, and then send them off a note. Tell them you would like to be considered to become a certified Franklin Barbecue Pit dealer. Matt will reach out, see if you guys can put a deal together. If you want something that sells itself, get it on the floor, let people walk around it. It might take a time or two in the store. All of a sudden, people are starting to pull triggers, and now they're raving about how much they love their Franklin Pit. FranklinBBQPits.com. Tell them the Barbecue Central show sent you when you send an email or a phone call, whatever you do. And we'll be back with Steve Ray right after this. Stick around.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional cooker you want to add to the arsenal. You visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you, then reap the rewards of cooking on upright barrel cookers. My first guest in the second hour was at the 2024 HPBExpo last week in Nashville, Tennessee. He spent last Wednesday walking the show and checking out everything that was on display. And tonight we're going to get his recap, what he liked, what he thought was nonsense, and everything in between. By the way, if you're in Ooltewah, Tennessee, you should stop by his barbecue supply store, Owl's Nest Barbecue. And of course, you can fuel up at his historic gas and service station, Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. We are happy to welcome back our pal, Steve Ray, to the show. Steve, before we get into HPBExpo stuff, let's ask you the YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, and of course, everybody watching on YouTube. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam, you are now 100% down after the interview with Melzy Wilson last week, yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you offended, like some other folks, that there is a upstart competition going head-to-head with one of the majors in competition barbecue history, or do you think that's a bunch of poppycock?
No, it gets back, Greg. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. So, if they want to, apparently there's some bad feelings between some people in Memphis and Maine. They've branched out, and I think it's a pretty ballsy move, really.
I love the money. I've never seen such money being thrown around in a barbecue contest. I mean, the last time I heard anybody walk away with a $50,000 prize, that was the only money that anybody was walking away with. There were maybe 5 or 6 teams. It was at the Kingsford Invitational back in 2014 or 2013 or whatever the hell. I was out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. Where the hell was the name? Damn it. Bell, Illinois, where a Kingsford charcoal plant was up on a hill with cows. And you
were on that show, weren't you?
I mean, I don't think I ever made it on television, per se. They did have a TV crew around there. I don't know if I made it on the big screen or not. Maybe you saw like a flash in my baseball cap or something like that. But they had like Melissa Cookston and Lucky's Q, Pigskin Barbecue, maybe a handful of other folks. And the winner won $50,000. But there weren't ancillaries and there weren't additional prize monies. It was winner take all $50,000. So you have that amount if you win it, one of the main 3 meets. But then if you win some of the ancillaries, you can win, $7,000 or $5,000. I mean, this is a big money payout.
Yeah, WFC's involved in it. It's $250,000 total prize package. It's and I heard you talking about they signed a 10-year agreement with the venue. That's pretty strong. 10 years. That's a long time, man. 10 years.
You ever been to the HPBExpo in the past, Steve?
No, I never have. It was never really that close to us. It's hard to travel, and Nashville is just an hour and I think about an hour and 40 minutes from here, and it just happened at a great time and a great location, and we booked our seats early. And we were really excited about going.
How well attended? Now, again, this is your first time in, but you know what a lot of people look like and what a lot of people don't look like regardless. And being able to put that into context of how big the facility is also. How well attended do you think the event was on the Wednesday you were there?
You could get around easy. The hall was not filled by any stretch of the imagination. There's plenty of room left if you wanted to rent a space. Not terribly crowded. You didn't have to wait in line for lunch. Didn't have to wait in line for drinks. You just walked right up and got them. It was very casual, very nice, a nice time to attend. The day we were there, they were closing early at 5 to have some sort of an award ceremony. But other than that, I don't know how Tuesday was. I don't know how. I imagine Thursday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I thought it was kind of a strange, in the middle of the week. I would think that those things would be on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but what do I know? They know more than I do.
Last year when I went to Louisville, aside from it being freezing cold, there was a shocking number of billiards, darts, and other indoor recreation companies displaying their stuff. Same this year?
Darts.
Darts.
There weren't any billiards, but there were two big dart vendors there. That was about the only thing.
Is that weird?
I don't know. I don't play darts, but I'm in the minority. I don't, a lot of people throw darts at their house. I didn't see any of the, what's the little things you pitch at the plywood things? What's that called?
Like that disc bowling type of shuffleboard?
No, not, you a bean bag. You throw a bean bag in a hole.
Cornhole.
What's that called? Yeah, cornhole. There wasn't any cornhole vendors there. I thought there were some cornhole boards there, but I thought there would be a company selling cornhole boards because that's so popular. But there wasn't. So
you took some
darts
photos.
Was about it.
That's right. You took some photos for us to take a look at. So
yeah.
Again, if you're getting this on audio for the first time, and as you're hearing us talk about them, and your interest is piqued, make sure you go over to YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, where you can get the video replay, and then you can watch along as we're talking here. So I'm going to just pull up the pictures here. We'll start with our pals over at Green Mountain Grills. So if you want to just walk us through and, tell us what we're looking at, and then any thoughts that you had specifically you care to comment, go ahead and take it away.
Well, obviously that's the Green Mountain Grill setup. That's a peak on the left and a ledge on the right. The Trek is on the right, but you can't see it. They also had a ripped on the left side. You can't see it yet. We'll have some pictures of it. Not a big impressive booth, but good enough to see what they had to offer. See all of the different the new features of the grills. I thought it was plenty to look at, not overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination. It seemed to fit the product lineup, and I enjoyed it.
You have experience with Green Mountain Grills. You've been a GMG dealer for a while now. So when you look at this new model of GMG compared to what you've been carrying in the store otherwise, what do you like about it?
Oh, it looks a lot better. It's got that blacked out thing going on. They've got the inside is very unique. Gray, I don't know if you had one. The deflector is it's a lot smaller, which will make it have a better smoke flavor. It'll make it heat up faster. The drip pan is a little more narrow, so the smoke can come out a little bit better. The little things like that, I think that'll make the taste of the food better. It's got a rack system that's going to go on the back, which is pretty neat. And other than that, it's the hoppers still hold. They increased it to 20 pounds instead of 18, which I thought was a good thing. I'm a fan. I know I sell them. I've been doing it for 4 years. I sell them, but I was a fan then, and I'm a bigger fan now. I'm really excited about getting them. And that and I tell you, that Rip Tea thing's coming out next week. I don't know if it's pronounced Rip Tea or Ripped, whatever, RIPT.
Ripped.
That's it right. That's it right there. He's Jason Baker, who was there, said that they still got to do some tweaks to it. But if you go back, there's those two. If you can go back, you see those two bars there that go across. You can hang things from there. I'm a big fan of hanging food, and you can hang like sausages, or you can dangle a pork tenderloin off there, or a pork loin. That's the rack system that's in the back. It's going to have different configurations. That's a rib rack right there. There's a warming rack on there. It's not very expensive either. They still have the light in the window, and everybody laughs. That's a better shot. and there's a Primo. They were there, and they were there in huge representation. They had a big booth set up.
Did you know that Primo was part of Empire Comfort System, which is like they do the home heating logs, Empire Comfort? Did you know that?
No.
So that's why their booth was so big.
Oh, okay. I could see that. You know, those booths were they were expensive, man. There's one guy I talked to. We've got a picture of it. It's a little gun that's got it lights the fire. Then it's got a little fan that comes on. He was in a little 10 by 12 booth. He said his was $3,600.
Wow.
For the show. So the real estate there was pretty pricey.
All right, so we'll run through the Primos here. I think this was
that's the video.
Video of the rotisserie basket going around on the rotisserie accessory. So it's got a little bit of an insert that sits on the inside of the lip there. And now we're walking over. So there's the griddle insert that you can see there. The middle pulls out of that griddle insert, Steve, so you have access to the flame then, or you could put in a grill grate, or what? Did you see that?
I didn't. No, I didn't take that close a look at them. I tell you what, it's a good looking smoker, and they were very busy in that booth. People were really interested in Primos.
Is that a brand you would think about carrying in the store, or ceramic cookers a little out of range for your clientele?
No, they're in range. It's a matter of space with me. We've got Green Mountain Grill. We picked up Pit Barrel again, which we're really excited about. Got Aaron Franklin's pit coming in, and we're looking at another one down in Texas. That would probably be. I'll have to utilize my space outside in the back that I've got undercover to start putting some stuff under there. But I don't know that much about the ceramic cookers or the Kamado type. I'm just not that familiar with it. I never used one. I had an egg for about a year. I never could figure out what the attraction was. I think it was a little hard to use, but I've never used Primo, so they may be different.
All right, so let's get back to some of the other stuff that you saw at HPB. Here's Napoleon.
Yeah, Napoleon was good. They had a big setup. That's that company. Palm Sales is now my distributor for Green Mountain Grill, so I've got access to Napoleon products. That's their kettle and a table. I took that picture because they're pretty cheap. Retail about $2.99 on the kettle, and that little table combo is only $3.99. I thought that was a good price point if for that price conscious consumer. The salesperson said the only drawback is they're a little bit testy to assemble. I could see that.
That's bad news for me.
Bad, but that's bad news for everybody.
Yeah.
That's a neat thing. That's my backyard banger. These guys are out of California. That little jewel retails at $49.99.
Wow.
It's portable. It's portable. That's what makes it so unique. You hook the garden hose up to it. You can take it in the garage, out of the garage. If you're a renter, if you're like renting a house and you want to have an entertainment center and you don't want it built in, that would be the perfect thing for it. That little PowerPoint there, it goes up and goes down with just a push of a button. That was kind of cool. That was a nice. That was one of the highlights of the show as far as things I'm interested in.
Would you spend $4,500 on it, Steve?
Oh, it's $49.99.
Spend $5,000 on it?
That's the thing, Greg. But gosh, everything there is expensive. I mean, everything in my store is expensive. Everything in everybody else's store is expensive. It's there's a word for that. I was listening to a financial guy the other day on the local sports channel here in Chattanooga, and he called it funflation. And it was very unique conversation. He said everything that we do as hobbies and fun has increased more than the inflation for groceries, gasoline, cars. Our inflation for the fun things called funflation is leading the inflation index, and I believe that.
Yeah. All right, so
That's
here's our pals at Blackstone.
Yeah, that's our pal at Blackstone. It's nice. I mean, it's nice. It's $24.99 retail.
Wow.
It's full of chrome, full of tables that come out, and the Blackstone they had a huge area, and they were really busy. They were really talking it up. They're the number one in the game on the griddle game.
What's in the
I've
middle
got an
there?
interest I think it's an air fryer. They incorporate air fryers in a lot of their stuff. I saw.
Blackstone has not one, but two air fryers. And then next to the two air fryers, there's a warming drawer where they could have potentially put a third air fryer. I mean, they really love putting air fryers in their stuff.
That may be a warming drawer then. I'm not really sure.
But I mean, now that you mention it, it does look like an air fryer. It's got the basket. Looks like there's a door that you would close shut. So very well could be an air fryer. People love air frying, I guess.
They were nice. They had some real good spokesmen there. Two gals were there and a guy, and they knew they had their product knowledge down. They were very professional group. I enjoyed the visit there. I really did. And everybody's got a pizza. Greg, I tell you, that's the one thing that dominated that show was pizza ovens. Man, they were everywhere. Everybody's got a pizza oven. I mean, big ones, little ones. They had the $12,000 ones there. They had the $299 ones there. There's those expensive ones. They had the what's it called, the Alpha. Is that it? Was it Alpha, or what's the real expensive one that starts with an A? They were there.
Yeah.
And man, they had them everywhere. Everybody's got a pizza oven.
These ones we're looking at, looks like the MSRP is towards $3,000 on that back one. So, and on the cart. So these are, pretty expensive pizza ovens. Certainly not 20 grand like you would have if you got them shipped in from Italy, but higher end stuff, no doubt.
That was kind of a neat little grill. That's a Kamado encased in a square looking thing. Those were there. You can see the dome.
Yeah.
They have one that's a smart one and a non-smart one, and that one right there is the non-smart. It's $14.99, and the one next to it is the one that's got electric start. It's got all of the temperature controls built in. It's $2,000. I think they're from I want to say Australia, I believe.
And if I'm looking at this one, is this like an 18 and a half inch?
Yeah,
grill grate?
that's about right.
Yeah, wow. That's not a lot of diameter there.
That's the only drum I saw. I was surprised that there weren't more drums there. As popular as drum cooking is right now. That one had a retail. That was kind of weird. They had a retail on that of, I think it was, I want to say $1,600.
Really?
But then they had, but then it's on the, if you can get it close up on that, it's got it written on that piece of paper. If I remember it correctly, let's see if we can.
$600.
Yeah, that's at the show.
Yeah,
regular price
$1,900 otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, you could buy it at the show for $600.
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of weird, but it's they really make these drums now. They look like they're from Mars. We talked about it before I went up there. We were both kind of interested in grill cleaning products, and there wasn't anything I saw that was out of the ordinary. Those are the wood scrapers. Everybody's tried that. They were there. That guy was there. Let's see, what was the name of his company? He was a nice guy. He was Q Super Paul. His name was Paul Sierra. Proud Grill Company is what that was called.
All right.
He had all kinds of cleaners there. Very affordable. I'm gonna pick up the line of the little handheld ones. I don't have a good grill cleaner at the store, and Of course, there's Chef's Temp. We sell those. That's a good product. Very competitive.
Yeah.
Works very good. That's the Boyer brush. They weren't there. They weren't there exhibiting, but they were there walking around. I don't know what you call that. There's a name for it. I forget what they call it. But
it's called to do bitch move, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Well, they were doing that.
Yeah.
And they came by the store right before that, and I bought some of those. That's a kind of a heavy duty brush, as you can see there. I'm anxious to get it. It's a little pricey. It's $79.
Yeah, but it looks like it could last forever.
Yeah, and I really do think it's gonna really. I think it'll sell pretty good. There was that's the brisket pellet grill, and it's got AI. We put in Texas brisket, and it popped out a recipe for us. And that guy's name is Jason right there, and he said that it wasn't in there, that it was really AI technology. So everything is so not technology driven there. It's just amazing. Everything's got a temperature control. Everything is set it and forget it. Very I guess the Napoleon kettles were the only thing that were just normal. Maybe the drum, something you had to manage a fire a little bit. Everything else was, set it, forget it. That's what they're selling.
Were there any companies that didn't show up that you thought would be there?
Yeah. Weber wasn't there. Traeger wasn't there. There was one more I was looking for. Like I said, I thought maybe a drum company would be there. But Traeger not being there, I thought was real odd, because everybody and their brother was there. I don't know. They may have thought they didn't need to show their stuff. Who knows? It's an expensive commitment. They may be, at the hardware show next week in Vegas, whenever it is. They might be. I'm sure they'll be there.
If HPB was close to you next year, is it something you would go multiple days? Assuming you could free up at home, would you go a couple days?
Yeah. That's what I wish we could have done this year was, go there, spend the night, then go back maybe, 3/4 of a day, then come home. I would have liked to have talked with the representatives longer to get a little more, like the Broil King you were talking about. They had a huge setup there, but we didn't even get to go to it because we got tied up at Old Country Barbecue Pits, and we got tied up at the Halo exhibit. And the Halo exhibit was very interesting, a very interesting group of products there. I thought. I mean, they were a good group of people, and it's a legitimate, company, I think.
We're talking with Steve Ray. Cool. He owns Owl's Nest Barbecue out there in Ottawa, Tennessee. OwlsNestBBQ.com is the website, giving us the recap of the HPBExpo that he visited last week. Steve, appreciate the insight, the pictures, and we wish you good luck with any new lines you're picking up, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Jeff, Greg, we'll keep you posted, man. Thanks.
All right, you got it. He just called me Jeff. We have Seth Sawyer ready to go. We'll get them here in just 1 second. Before we do that, we'll talk to you about Big Papa Smokers. Listen up, gang. Our friends at Big Papa Smokers have something special just for you, listeners of the show. Whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling noob, Big Papa Smokers is your one-stop shop for all things barbecue, from their championship rubs, mouth-watering sauces, essential accessories. They've got what you need to take your food to the next level. Doesn't matter if you're a competition cook or if you are a backyard cook just like me. Here's the cherry on top. Big Papa Smokers is offering listeners of the Barbecue Central Show an exclusive deal. Use promo code REMPE at checkout. That's REMPE, and you can get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or accessories. Imagine the possibilities. Evaluating your ribs with Big Papa's Sweet Money or Sweet Money Hot. Add Big Papa's Desert Gold to your chicken, or better yet, pick up Double Secret and put it on your steak. Head on over to BigPapaSmokers.com and start shopping today. And don't forget to use promo code REMPE, REMPE, at checkout to claim your $10 off your next order of $50 or more. Also, don't forget to check out Big Papa's full line of recipes at cookingwithbigpapa.com. And, of course, follow him on social media platforms for amazing recipes and tips. Current Backyard is next. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
We thank Steve Ray for joining us last segment. OwlsNestBBQ.com is the website. This portion of the show being brought to you by JRE Tobacco, makers of premium hand-rolled cigars. Trying out different blends from the Aroa family demonstrates their expertise in mastering hard-to-grow tobacco varieties and then blending them into a smoking experience that's second to none. I have samples if you want. I have Corojo Reservas in Figurado. I also have Aladino Classics in the Corona. The 4x40s is what they are. JREtobacco.com to find a retailer near you. Helping me close the show this evening, the product manager for a brand that was showing off their new grill at the 2024 CES in Las Vegas a handful of weeks ago. Gained a lot of attention, some awards as well. And if you are in a spot where traditional live fire grills aren't allowed, or you're looking to get out of the traditional options and go electric, this is the segment for you. Let's head to the hotline and welcome back our pal Seth Sawyer to the show. Seth, appreciate you joining me here this evening. Before we get going on current, let me ask you the YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. If you were on the fence about Smoke Slam, you are now 100% down after last week's interview, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
All right. Do you love controversy or do you just love competition?
Competition.
Yes. All right. What's the background, Seth, of current Backyard? What's the vision?
Yeah, so I mean, the vision is really just to create a brand that embraces electric. It does everything a little bit different, but it really gives people an option that can't have those other fuel types, an option to do real outdoor cooking and plug it into just a standard, outdoor outlet. The company is backed by W.C. Bradley, which is a family-owned company that has Charbroil and Pit Boss, Louisiana Grills, Sabre, Oklahoma Joe's, a lot of brands that have been doing it for a long time. Charbroil goes back 75 plus years. And so Current is really almost like an internal startup. It's a completely separate team. But the benefit is we have kind of the resources and the history and the knowledge of that company behind us. And so we have a little bit more advantages than the average, startup might have.
Was there ever talk amongst the W.C. Bradley folks and then all the brands that are already in-house to put it under an existing brand instead of developing something brand new?
Yeah, this is something that's been in the works for a long time, and that was one of the biggest talking points early on. And the more we looked at it, the more we kind of felt like, Charbroil is really good at some specific things. Oklahoma Joe's, Sabre, a lot of our other brands, they're good at specific things, and this really needs to be something different. We don't want to necessarily have to stay within the confines of, what the Charbroil brand means or what the others, stand for. And so we thought it was best and that we could ultimately give consumers the best experience if we did, a new brand that could create everything from scratch.
Why take this grill to the Consumer Electronics Show and unveil something versus a more traditional in the live fire space like an HPB or a National Hardware Show?
I think really it's twofold. First and foremost, this is a smart grill. It's digitally controlled. It does have an app that's got guided interactive cooks. It really helps, people. If you're a novice, we'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to get something perfect the very first time you ever turn the grill on. And so we really wanted to highlight that, and we felt like CES was an appropriate place for that. But the other thing is, this grill really is opening up the possibilities of outdoor cooking to a whole new demographic and a whole new segment of people that today aren't able to cook. People that are either in areas where they can't have gas or they can't have charcoal, or for a variety of reasons don't want to have those things, but also people that are just more tech oriented early adopters, and they've never paid much attention to the category, but when the right product comes along, it makes sense for them. And we felt like we would find those types of not only consumers but also media and stuff there at CES, and that really played out. I mean, we had a ton of traffic all 4 days of the show, and the majority of it was just people who were coming by and they're like, I would love to have one of these just as a consumer, no business ties or anything like that. Just I would love. We gave out a ton of samples of spices and some early access promo codes and stuff, and those people have really followed through on those.
Do you think that this is a show that we'll see more and more grill companies attend over the next few years?
I do. I think that no surprise, and you've talked about it on your show, but more and more tech is going into grills. Grills are becoming a little bit more of software driven. Not all grills, of course, but the grills that have control as an element of them are becoming more and more software driven. AI is going to be a thing that's not going away anytime soon. And so I think people understand the natural ties to smart home and connecting with some of those things and making things easier for people. And it's a way to reach some new outlets and some new customers as well.
So you briefly mentioned charbroil. Last time you were on the show, we were talking on the charbroil side about the Edge. So for the folks that are familiar with the Edge, they've also seen the current product that was unveiled at CES. Where does current separate itself from the existing Edge?
Yeah, it's really all about the technology. So from a spec standpoint, current's a little bit bigger. It's got 60 more inches of cooking space primary, and it has warming rack as well. So overall, it's about 130 inches, 140 inches bigger of cooking space. But really where it comes into play is current's dual zone. It's not just a single zone, so you can do indirect cooking. That was some feedback, that we had heard with Edge. But the app is really what separates it. The current grill is fully connected. You can do everything on the control panel. You can set timers and all of your temperatures and everything. But if you go into the app, we've got a library of guided cooks and tips and tricks and what we call interactive recipes. And with those interactive recipes, you could go to something you've never done before. And where a traditional thing might say, set your grill to medium, this will say set grill to 430, and it's a button. You press it, it sends the command. We'll tell you when to flip food, when to remove it, how long to rest it. And so we're just making it a little more approachable. Not everybody needs that much coaching, but for the people that do, we want to make it more approachable and shorten their learning curve.
So you are putting a certain amount of onus on the operator, where if they're putting in a burger recipe, an interactive burger recipe, you're telling them you need burgers to be X size in order to get that recipe right. So there are some things that the cook has to do properly in order to make sure that that interactive recipe is being executed as best as possible.
That's correct. So we do have, all of the recipes are, the variables at play are grill temperature, internal meat temp, and time. But we do within the guides, we say, here's a recipe for a New York strip that's, a half inch thick versus 2 inches thick. Here's the differences in how you may want to cook those. And so we do give instructions on cut and preparation, as well as how you will cook them.
So we have dual zones. You can get up to 700 degrees. That's where it's listed at. That's a real achievable temperature.
Yeah, 700 degrees. The anodized aluminum grates do a really good job of providing fast heating, but also really even cooking temperatures. But 700 degrees is not a problem. That's not like you only reach that in lab settings. It'll get there in the real world in cold, in cold environments. And a lot of people have asked, well, what do you cook at 700 degrees? And the answer is, well, you can sear the heck out of a steak for sure. And we've got some guides for how to do that. But the 700 degrees really is more about giving people confidence that if you want to cook it, let's say 500, and it happens to be 30 degrees outside, you can easily achieve that temperature and you can hold it there too. A lot of the other electrics, max at 500, 550. But as soon as you open the lid, the heat's gone, and now you're 300 something degrees, and you just can't get the result that you're looking for. And so the fact that it can hit 700, while you can use that for searing and things like that, it's really more of a a reassuring thing to customers that you can hold the cooking temps that you want to use most commonly.
As this thing is starting to ramp up to set temperature, is there a certain amount of time you need to let it get to at that set temperature and then let it even out per se, or it doesn't matter once you're there, go ahead and drop your meat on, away you go?
It kind of just depends on what you're cooking. It's a lot like a gas grill, in terms of heat up time. In about 10 minutes, you're at your cooking temperatures. You're 400, 450 degrees. The ramp up curve kind of goes like this. And then once you get above, let's say 550, 600, it's a slower climb to get to the max temp. Just like a gas grill, it can take 40 minutes for a gas grill to totally normalize. But over time, as that temperature algorithm starts kind of, going up and down, it does get more even. And so if you're looking for, like, let's say on the griddle, because there is a griddle available as well, you're going to lay down a whole batch of pancakes and you want the browning to be even on all of them, it would be best to bring it up to the temp you want and then let it sit there for 10 minutes or so and kind of normalize, over time. And so the grill works the same way, but depending on what you're cooking, that may or may not be important. If you're just throwing down a couple of hamburgers, that level of precision, maybe overkill.
How are you powering it?
It's standard. It's 110 volt, 1750 watts. And so that's the most common question we get. It doesn't require anything special at all. It plugs into a standard outdoor household outlet, 110 volt. The only thing we say is don't plug another appliance into the same circuit. But other than that, there's no special requirements. It comes with a 12-foot cord. And so, depending on the size of your patio, for most people, you're not going to need an extension cord. But there's no special requirements at all. It'll work with whatever you've got.
Other manufacturers, especially last year when I was pitching that full-size electric grills were going to be a thing next year, and we can debate whether or not that really happened or not. They wanted 220 or said, we buy into the concept, but we think 220 is the better way to go. If you had a 220 grill, would the performance be that much better because there's just more horsepower?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not a perfect correlation to say 220 versus 110 is like more BTUs, because BTUs is a misunderstood metric. More is not always hotter, faster, but absolutely. Like if we had a 220 volt version of current, we could easily hit higher temperatures. I don't know that we would want to, but we could easily go well above 700, probably more like 1,000. Wow. And we could hit temps. Our heat up time of 10 minutes probably becomes 6.5. Recovery times get faster. It gives you so much more juice. I mean, over in Europe, electric grills are a little bit more, they're really small. Full-size electrics are really small in the US. In Europe, they're a little bit bigger chunk of the market because they have access to, 220 and 240 power over there.
From a recovery standpoint, though, this is pretty in line with a charcoal grill or gas grill. Lift the top, flip burgers, flip steaks, and it's going to recover pretty quick.
It is. If you're using it, we've done some side-by-side tests, the same exact response, the same exact results and experience of using a gas grill. It does that. I mean, all grills, when you lift the lid, you're going to lose some temperature, and then when you shut it, you'll start to gain that back. But it performs just like a gas grill. I mean, you're not going to, it's not going to be a noticeable thing where like a lot of other electrics on the market where the, first side gets a great sear mark and the second side's kind of gray, and not really working too well. But this one, we've done even blind taste tests, and you can't tell the difference.
Price tag?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on which configuration you buy. It starts at $7.99. So we have a griddle and a grill. They're two separate SKUs. There's multiple colors available as well, but griddle starts at $7.99. The grill starts at $8.99. And then because we don't have the propane tank to store, we have a system of accessories that the customer can choose to outfit their grill with that fit underneath in that space. There's a storage locker. There's some slide out bins. You can have an open cart or a cabinet. And so $7.99 and $8.99 are the two entry prices. And then you can add another 100 or two, depending on if you want to kind of fully outfit it or go with the more, basic model.
You had mentioned before that there were coupons out for pre-order or early access ordering. When are you looking to get it to market?
Yeah, so it's live right now. We launched with inventory on our website about 2 weeks ago. And so we had a code for the people that met us at CES. We actually today, there's another code running. There's a President's Day sale going on this week. And so if you look at currentbackyard.com right now, I think it's $200 off. And that will run for at least another couple of days. And so, we're about 2 weeks in. It's been exciting to watch kind of the orders and the sales and everything come in, and we're ready for the real grilling season kind of to get going. I know it's still cold, not so much in Georgia, but in a lot of the rest of the country, it's not quite grilling season yet.
Inventory standpoint wise, are you building to grilling season, or you're going to have enough to get you through if this thing becomes a gangbuster hit?
Yeah, with electronics, especially with the way the last couple of years have gone, supply can be a challenge, especially when you have radios and Wi-Fi boards and digital control. But we've built, we have an aggressive business case, and we've built a pretty stout monthly forecast, and we've ordered to that. And so hopefully we're so successful that we run out of stock anyway. But we're in a pretty good spot right now to support a successful launch.
We're talking with Seth Sawyer, the product manager over at Current Backyard, currentbackyard.com, the website. And as he said, there's a sale going on right now, at least for the next couple days over President's Day. So if you're interested, if you are handcuffed by traditional live fire restrictions, or you just want to go electric, this is certainly something you should be checking out, especially if you want a full-size experience. Let's appreciate the time and continued success.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Seth Sawyer right there. So if you are interested, this is it, right? You want something that you can get a real grill experience. I don't want to say it's not a real grill, but a traditional live fire grill experience, but without the traditional live fire fuels. Current might be the one for you. 2 burners now, so you can set up indirect cooking if you would like. And it sounds like you get it fully outfitted, you're still, $1,100 or less. So considering the technology, connectivity, I think that's pretty much in line from a price perspective. Could certainly be more. And they're rolling out in a special way. So we will track the success of Current over the next handful of months, especially as we get into grilling season. I will try and give you an update to the poll when we come back, so stick around. Be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back, and we thank Seth Sawyer for joining us. CurrentBackyard.com is the website if you're interested in checking out either the Current Griddle or the Current Grill. And again, $7.99, $8.99 griddle and grill, and then you can outfit it with a cabinet, some other stuff as well, pushing you over that $1,000 mark, at least for the grill. And $200 off right now at CurrentBackyard.com. Let's go ahead and get out of here. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with who? That's right, Dirk Mullins and Jody. These two right here. Oh, no, that's Steve. Sorry. Dirk Mullins and Jody Harris right there. And then Rib Cookoff Association.com. And then we talked with this guy, Wes Wright, CookoutNews.com. Latest business dealings and some new products. Second hour, Steve Ray, our pal over at Owl's Nest Barbecue, owlsnestbbq.com. And closing it out with Seth Sawyer at currentbackyard.com, talking about the current grill. A big show planned for you next year. Next year. Big show planned for you next week. How do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Chris Payne from Euclid, Ohio, and you are listening to Barbecue Central.